Daniel never believed in fairy tales. Life had taught him to survive, not to dream. He was a 34-year-old single father, raising his 6-year-old son, Ethan, after losing his wife in a tragic accident. The small repair shop he owned barely kept food on the table, but he pushed through each day for Ethan. When the landlord announced they were selling their rented home, Daniel's world shook again. He couldn't afford a new place. And in their rural town, opportunities were few, but fate had a strange way of knocking on the door, sometimes gently, sometimes like a storm. One afternoon, the head nun from the local orphanage, where Ethan often spent time, called Daniel for a meeting. Her tone was unusually serious. "Daniel," she began, folding her hands tightly, "I know your situation is difficult. But there might be an option." Daniel stiffened. "What kind of option?" She exhaled nervously. "A wealthy donor, Mr. Hawthorne, has been supporting this orphanage for years. His daughter, Lila, is paralyzed from the waist down. He wants to ensure she is cared for after he passes. He's looking for someone with a good heart to marry her. And in exchange, he will provide a stable home and financial support for your son." Silence. Daniel's jaw clenched. "You're asking me to marry a stranger? For money?" "No," the nun whispered gently. "I'm asking you to consider a woman who has been abandoned by everyone she loved, and who deserves a family again." 2 days later, Daniel found himself walking up the long driveway of the Hawthorne estate. Ethan held his hand, wide-eyed at the massive house. Inside, Mr. Hawthorne greeted them, stern but vulnerable behind his aged eyes. "I won't sugarcoat anything," the old man said. "My daughter, Lila, hasn't walked in 2 years. The accident that took her mobility also broke her engagement. Everyone she trusted left. I won't live much longer, and she will be alone. She needs companionship and protection, and you need stability for your son." "And what does Lila think of all this?" Daniel asked quietly. Mr. Hawthorne hesitated. "She doesn't agree. But she also doesn't have much choice. The world has been cruel to her." That sentence echoed in Daniel's mind. The world had been cruel to him too, but he still had something to live for. Ethan. So Daniel agreed to meet her. Lila Hawthorne was nothing like he expected. She wasn't fragile or defeated, she was fire. When they entered her room, she looked up, her green eyes sharp as glass, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders. Her wheelchair sat beside her bed like a permanent shadow. "So you're the man being bribed to marry me," she said flatly. Daniel swallowed. "I'm not here for money. I'm here because I was told you need support." "I don't need a husband," she snapped. "I need legs that work." Ethan peeked from behind Daniel. Her expression softened just a little when she saw him. "And you brought a child," she murmured, her voice quieter. "He's my son," Daniel said. "And he's my whole world." Ethan smiled shyly. "Hi. I like your room." Something flickered in her eyes, something tender, almost forgotten, and for the first time, Lila didn't look like she wanted to break Daniel in half. The wedding was small, quiet, awkward. Lila didn't smile. Daniel didn't either, but Ethan threw rose petals with all the enthusiasm of a child unaware of adult suffering, and somewhere deep inside, both Daniel and Lila wondered what destiny was trying to do to them. The first weeks were tense. Lila kept her distance, refusing help even when she struggled. Daniel cooked and cleaned, feeling like an intruder in a mansion that wasn't his. Ethan, however, walked straight into Lila's heart without permission. Every evening, he brought her drawings. "This is you standing," he once said, handing her a stick figure drawing. Her breath caught. "And this is my dad helping you walk again," he added. Daniel felt his face flush. "Ethan," but Lila stared at the drawing for a long time, then whispered, "Thank you." Not to Ethan. To Daniel. Slowly, walls began to crack. Lila laughed occasionally, soft, surprised, as if she wasn't used to the sound. Daniel found himself waiting for that laugh each day. That he admired her strength. The way she fought through pain. The way she hid her loneliness behind sarcasm. The way she read bedtime stories to Ethan even when her voice trembled. One night, Lila confessed something she had never told anyone. I wasn't supposed to survive the crash, she said quietly. My fiancé walked away. Everyone did. Even friends stopped visiting. They said I'd never walk again, so what was the point? Daniel clenched his fists, anger simmering. Then they didn't deserve you. She looked at him, really looked at him, and her eyes softened. You say it like you mean it. I do. Their hands brushed, her breath hitched, something shifted, their marriage remained unspokenly distant, until one night during a storm, like the one from the first day, they found themselves alone in the dimly lit kitchen. Ethan was asleep. Lila struggled reaching a glass on the top shelf. It slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. She froze, panic rising. Daniel stepped forward. It's okay. No, she cried, tears spilling. I can't even hold a stupid glass. I'm just a burden to everyone, my father, you, your son. Stop, he said firmly. He cupped her face gently. You're not a burden. You're stronger than anyone I know. She shook her head, sobbing. Why are you being kind to me? Because I care about you. Her breath trembled. You care? Daniel leaned closer. More than I should. When he kissed her, it wasn't planned. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, honest, full of pain and hope tangled together. Her hands clutched his shirt like she was holding on for life, and when the kiss ended, Lila did something she hadn't done in 2 years. She tried to stand, her legs trembled violently. The pain was sharp, unbearable, but she didn't stop. Daniel's eyes widened with shock. Lila, you'll hurt yourself. Let me, she whispered, tears flooding her cheeks. If I can feel this alive again, maybe I can feel more. She lifted herself an inch, just an inch, but it was enough to break them both open. Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her trembling body. You're incredible, he whispered into her hair. And we'll do this together, one step at a time. She nodded against his chest. For the first time, hope didn't feel like a cruel joke. Months passed. Lila began therapy, serious therapy. She pushed herself through pain that made Daniel want to scream on her behalf. Every day she stood a little longer. Moved a little more. Ethan became her cheerleader. You'll walk again, Lila, I know it. And Daniel. Daniel became the man who believed in her more than he believed in himself. Their marriage transformed. From survival to friendship, from friendship to love, from love to something sacred. One afternoon, while practicing with parallel bars, Lila lifted her weight, and took her first step. A full step. Daniel rushed to her, tears streaming from his eyes. You did it, he whispered. You made me want to try, she answered, breathless. A year later, Lila walked down the garden path, slow, shaky, but proudly holding Daniel's hand. Ethan ran ahead throwing petals again, laughing. Lila looked at Daniel with tears in her eyes. You saved me, she said. No, Daniel replied softly. You saved yourself. I just loved you while you did it. She smiled, the smile of a woman who finally found the family she thought she lost forever, and together, they stepped forward, not perfectly, not easily, but with love strong enough to make miracles rise from broken pieces. Because sometimes, fate doesn't give you the life you dreamed of, sometimes, it gives you the life you fight for, and sometimes, a single kiss is enough to make someone stand again, for love.